Hi, my name is Evelyn Cardenas from the Central Florida Auto Dealers Association, and I would like to welcome everybody to our fourth meeting of the Compliance and Consumer Confidence Working Group. I will hand it off to my co-chair, Pastor Roderick Zach, from the CEO from Rejoice in the Lord Ministries and President of African American Council of Christian Clergy, to do roll call for us. Pastor Zach?
Okay, thank you, Madam Chair. Augusto Sanabria. Augusto Sanabria. Okay, Steve Jamerson.
Afternoon, present.
Thank you. Inez Long.
Present.
John DeAramis. Wayne Rich.
Present.
Chris Earl.
Present.
Dan Ward.
Afternoon, everyone.
Adria Asuelo.
Here.
Okay. That concludes the roll. Thank you all. Good afternoon.
Okay, great.
Just if I could jump in, just so we added someone, Miss Nadine Tarpley. I believe she's on the call.
Okay.
Let's see her on the.
Yeah, I'm on the call. I'm here. I'm present.
Okay.
Okay. Did we have John Madison for this call or no?
I believe he's on here. It doesn't look like he's here, but John DeAramis joined the call.
Okay, perfect. Anybody else that we didn't call? No, okay. So with that, we'll move on to the approval of the minutes. So everybody should have received a copy of the meeting minutes. Do we have any questions or comments on those minutes? Okay. Can I get a motion to approve the minutes?
So moved.
Who was that?
Ansueto.
Ansueto, okay. Can I get a second?
This is Dan Ward, I'll second.
Okay. Any discussion? No. Seeing as there's no discussion, everybody in favor of approving the minutes, say aye.
Aye. Aye.
Aye.
Aye.
Aye.
Aye.
Okay. So now let's go on to the public comment portion of the meeting. So in an effort to comply with the CDC social distancing guidelines and for the safety of residents and task force members, the Business Compliance and Consumer Confidence Working Group will conduct meetings virtually. Orange County remains committed to providing an alternative platform for residents to have the opportunity to submit their public comments. I will ask Orange County staff to read the public comments we received online and add it to the public record. Please note that public comments received that do not include the required information will not be read. Comments that extend beyond the set time limit will not be read in their entirety. However, the resident's entire comment will be entered into the public record. Please note that the time allocated to each individual for public comment via online submission may be reduced from the normal 3 minutes based on the number of speakers. Do we have any public comments?
No, ma'am. We have no public comment for this specific working group today.
Okay, great. So since there are no public comments,
I'm sorry, Evelyn. Wanted to know that Augusto Sanabria is with us and can be noted in the minutes as an attendee and not absent.
Okay, welcome, Augustus. Okay. So at the last minute, we spent a lot of time and we created the recommendation for Mayor Demings to pursue a larger survey of Orange County. If we notice, he did that yesterday, I believe, in his press conference. So he's going to pursue that. So this meeting, I wanted us to focus on starting to work on at least the first step. Maybe we can get through first and second step of the 3-step process that we have determined. So going towards what does a public commitment mean for a company, and building the wall of fame. You should have it in your program there, the 3 steps. So we get a business. So Orange County creates this website. A business goes and registers. What information do we want from them, and what do we want the commitment to read? So maybe we can discuss those 2 things to start out.
I can start if you would like.
Please.
I continue to love the idea of this wall of fame and the seal of approval from the Orange County. I share that idea with many people and top marketers, and they love it. They think it's one of the best things that we could do. What can the businesses, or what should we ask about the business? Obviously, just information about their name, address, and so on, but it's focusing on what are they doing to comply. And I think that how many items of compliance do we have at this point? Is it 3 or 4 or 5 things that they need to do? I forgot the list.
It's a list of 7 things.
7.
Yeah, it's about 7. Is make it easy for them to check out of the 7 how many they are complying. And I think that someone in the team should hire, or maybe I think somebody yesterday or the last time said that they had a really good internal marketing team. Somebody needs to be developing the actual design of the seal, so the seal is available digitally, and it can also be available as a decal or in some sort of board or something that they can apply to the door or the windows. It should be very, very simple, very straightforward.
So John, can I stop you for just a second? I agree with everything you're saying, but before we get into the decal, can we work on maybe a commitment phrase? If they're coming in, they're providing us their personally identifiable information, name, address, name of the business, person of contact, whatever. They see the 7 things they're committing to. Do we want to draft a statement, kind of like a pledge? That's going to be their pledge.
Yeah.
Before we get into the details of the seal of approval.
I had a comment.
I do. Good afternoon, everybody. How are you? John, it was me that mentioned that we have a marketing team here, and we've already started working. Yeah, we've already started working on our end about sending out some PSAs to our members. And there are 3 messages that we are sending out, and I'd be more than happy to share. If you want to go to our webpage, go to the United Safety Council webpage, and you'll see our first PSA, and it shows our commitment to not only the citizens and our staff of where we're moving currently as far as being able to reopen. Be more than happy to share the other PSAs that we're putting out to our members. We're getting ready to do a large e-blast, if you will, to all of our members of what our commitment as the United Safety Council is to them as they come back to our organization for training or whatever needs that they need to have met. So be more than willing to have and happy to share that with everyone. Again, going back to Madam Chairman, I agree with you with what you're saying. I think we need to develop a mission statement of I don't know what the language or the wordsmithing of that would be. I think it would be a joint effort here with the working group. But again, I'd be more than happy to, what I've taken away from this group already, and I'm with another working group also with, building the consumer's confidence of what our organizations are going to do as we open, and what we commit to continually do as we move forward. That's the comment that I have. Thank you.
So do you or does anybody in the group already have maybe some language that they're using in their PSAs? We are committed to your safety, or I'm committing that my business is going to ensure that, employees are safe. I mean, what language are you using?
Chair, if you like I'd mentioned, if you just if you'd like to go to our webpage, go to the United Safety webpage, and you'll see our first posting. And this just actually went out probably an hour ago, and it does kind of just show our commitment of what as we move forward. And we're having posters actually developed with this PSA, and as you see there, it's the one that has the picture of and it says safety is our top priority. We easy to collectively with my marketing group and my senior staff, we felt that really did a blanket statement of where we're currently at as trying to assure everybody that we're practicing the 7 steps that's been set forth.
Madam Chair.
Go ahead, please.
If I could add to this. So are we looking for language that's going to go on the actual documentation or the seal of approval that someone's going to post at their front door or window?
No, I'm thinking about the business. When I'm coming in with Evelyn's Cupcakes, whatever my business is, and I'm registering as a business that's going to commit, I'm envisioning that the business is going to see the 7 guidelines. So the 7 guidelines, social distancing, ensuring that staff stays at home if they're sick, facial coverings, employee health screenings, frequently hand sanitizing, high-risk individuals should work from home, yada, yada, yada. So Evelyn's Cupcakes, or whatever my business is. Good. Thank you for doing that.
Evelyn, we brought up the guidelines.
Yes, I see that. Thank you. So whatever my business is, I'm saying I commit to following the guidelines to the best of my ability, to ensuring that staff are healthy and safe and can provide a safe environment for our patrons. So that's what I'm thinking. So what am I, like when you read the terms and conditions and you click on the box, yes, I agree to the terms and conditions. What are those? What is that pledge that I'm making as a business?
Okay, now I understand.
If I may, Chair, 2 suggestions. One, I think, obviously we need to keep it as simple as possible. So, from the standpoint of what I would be committing to as a business, to me, I'm committing to follow the guidelines set by Orange County to ensure the safety of my workers and customers. And that's kind of just brief and simple. But then from a standpoint of how we communicate that, and maybe how it can be communicated from the standpoint of a poster or a decal or whatever, one of the thoughts is also how we can boil that down to 2 or 3 words that can be part of a hashtag, which would then help with communicating it out. And I know that I saw a list the last time we met of some kind of hashtagable statements, but and not to brainstorm on the fly here, but just writing down some words here. Safe 7 would be one to just say my business is committed to the hashtag Safe 7, and then being able to list what those are or something along those lines.
So before we go into brainstorming, I'm going to read back what you stated, which I like. It's like you said, simple and to the point. If we can vote on and agree that that's going to be our pledge, then we can definitely move on to doing some of those phrases that we can use for the seal of approval and for social media. So he said, I commit to follow the guidelines set by Orange County to ensure the safety of my staff and customers. Is that correct? I didn't miss anything?
I would say staff,
yeah, you got that.
And the community at large, right?
Yeah,
We can only control our
question that I
environment.
would, yeah,
Yeah, but what you're
the
saying
one
is
question that I would raise on that. Sorry, go ahead.
Go ahead then.
No, I was just going to say that the only word that I'm not sure of in there, even though I know that I said it before, but the word ensure worries me just a little bit from a liability standpoint,
Okay.
because there is no 100% guarantee. So maybe promote instead of that. Promote the safety and
How about
well-being
help keep my staff and my customers safe.
Okay. Yeah, I think the ensure was just a step too far.
Yeah.
Pastor Zach had a question.
Yes. Pastor?
Oh, I just wanted the website address. Thank you.
The website that we're going to build?
No, for the United Safety Council. The United Safety
Oh.
Council. Thank you.
I just did a Google search. Do we have that? Let me see here. I think I had it. FloridaSafetyCouncil.org is what came up with for me. Okay, so back to the comment.
Madam Chair, I wanted to include, you read, the way that you read it sounded very well. Like I, kind of commit to doing the 7 practices that will ensure the safety of my employees, my customers, and the community overall. I wanted to remember, because this is only us building a PR campaign for them to kind of fight, right? And hopefully feel that they're being part of a broader strategy, which is to keep Orange County safe, so to speak. That's why we're saying, remember that one of the difficult things of this virus is that you can not have symptoms and then go and start spreading the virus in the community. So that's why I wanted to kind of make it a little broader, so that it's, oh wow, I'm part of this initiative that's going to keep the entire county safe. I'm not only concerned about my staff and my customers, I'm concerned about the entire community. That's why I thought it would be a good idea to include that. Yeah.
So Lucas and Jason, I went ahead and put it on the chat, the verbiage
Okay.
that they feel like it's outside of their purview. What do you guys think?
I personally like Augusto's recommendation of including the community. But I would also like to see the word health paired with safety. So when we talk about safety and health, I think it's very important to mention the word health besides safety.
Can you make that a little bit bigger, Lucas? I don't think I can read it.
Yes, ma'am, we're working on it.
Okay, I don't know if anybody.
If I may, I also agree with the comment about community. Just speaking as a business owner myself, it's something that I would want to commit to.
Okay.
One question, or a possible addition to this as well, is: do we want for a business to be able to qualify, let's say, for whatever this seal of approval is going to be? Do we want them to commit to following each of the 7 guidelines or all of the 7 guidelines? And if so, should we make that part of their pledge as well?
So I'm guessing you can't separate the 7 guidelines, because then you're really not keeping everybody safe. So
right.
To me, it was implied. But if you guys want to make it clear, we can definitely do that.
Yeah, I recommend to make it clear. I think a 7-point system is very, very powerful, and that's how you're going to get customers and the community to monitor that, because the minute they're going to see these are the 7 things, the minute they're going to see or do when they go inside a restaurant or a shop is to see if they are in fact compliant to all 7. I think that's really important.
So I commit to follow the 7 guidelines set by Orange County. Is that what we're thinking? So I commit to follow the 7 guidelines set by Orange County to help keep my staff and my customers. Actually, customers is not apostrophe.
Yeah, just
Yes,
customers.
Yeah.
just, yeah.
And I think it would be, if we're going to include community, then it would be help keep my staff, comma, customers and community safe and healthy.
Safe and healthy, correct.
Yeah. It's very nice.
If I may chime in here, we went through this same thing when we were trying to wordsmith our PSAs. Our marketing team says if this is a retail or a consumer industry, you want to put your customers first, then your staff second. That's coming from my director of marketing. So,
Yeah, your director is correct.
I'll let her know that.
I hate to push back. I hate to push back on that, but what we have always recommended to our clients is that employees always come first.
I know.
So I personally would say that we keep staff first before customers.
Right. That's a big debate.
In this instance,
Yeah, not to debate it, but yeah, I think I think we get a foundation here with the wordsmithing, and I think it's up, to the organization to use this as a platform. And if they want to move the wording around, but I think if we still get the same message across that we are following the 7 points of recommendation, I think we meet our expectations here.
Okay.
Are we gonna have are business owners supposed to already be following the guidelines when they get the seal, or are they pledging that they're going to do it and they should do it within a week of signing? Or more to what you said, Madam Chairman, the kind of like the fine print? I mean, are we going to have kind of like a time frame or something where it's expected for them to be in compliance?
That's a very good point, because
I recommend. I'm sorry, go ahead, Madam Chair.
Yes, at the other group, I think it was a tourism group that I was speaking at yesterday. They asked that same question. So we have the pledge. I'm hoping and assuming that because we're in phase 1, everybody's already complying, and this is just a way for them to let the world know that they're complying. But you bring up a very good point that if they're not complying, but now they're pledging to comply, how much time or when do they have to comply by? One. And the other thing or the main thing that came up in the tourism meeting was who's going to verify initially that they're complying when they sign up.
And that's, if I might add, that's where I throw in the honor system, because it's very difficult to go in and try to check every business. But if they're going to put some type of seal of approval on their window, then they need to be compliant at that time. They can't say within a week or two, we're going to be compliant.
No.
You don't get the seal of approval.
Right. I agree.
I can tell you that.
With that.
I can tell you, I went out to grab something to eat yesterday, and I'm not going to mention the location, but I went to grab a sandwich, and the 3 workers behind the counter, they're wearing gloves, but none of them were wearing masks. And I can tell you, it was a big turnoff.
Yeah.
And
I think, how about if we have the, so this is the screen where they say, I commit to follow the 7 guidelines, whatever. But then when they go to print the seal, it has like one of those check boxes where you say, I certify that I'm already following or something like that. So you can kind of commit, not necessarily print it just yet, and then you can come and print it once you're ready, maybe.
Do we think businesses are just going to commit at the minute they click on this box and register, and then as soon as they're off the computer, they're going to make sure that they're compliant because they committed?
Right. Isn't it just ongoing? Just an ongoing commitment.
I would say before you can post this on a window, you must be somehow committed to this. So maybe there's some type of phrase in there Before, I post this seal of approval, our business will be compliant under the guidelines set by Orange County.
So, Lucas, can you type that as a disclaimer that goes on the website?
I'm sorry, yeah, repeat that.
I got to remember what I said. It's a disclaimer just saying that, before you place this seal of approval in your storefront, you must be committed to the 7 recommendations set forth by Orange County.
And I would add to that yeah,
Wait a minute.
I think they need to be able to. Oh, sorry.
Lucas, do we need
Give us
to
a
read?
second here. We're going to wordsmith this for you. Go ahead, continue to discuss.
Okay, go ahead.
I was just going to say that I think it needs to also say that they will remain compliant with it. So maybe this seal of approval, or in order to display this seal of approval, the business must commit to and remain compliant with the 7 guidelines set by Orange County.
Madam Chair, I do have a question here. And this seal would be something that is a forever seal? Is that my understanding?
Forever, as long as we're in the COVID process, I think, because once we're out of COVID and all the phases, I think we'll be back to normal.
Okay, you answered my question. I was just wondering if my question would be is if this would be a forever seal, and going back to the 7 recommendations, that to keep this up, you would have to constantly be taking somebody's temperature, or if some of those 7 might not pertain to 6 months from now. That's just my question. Okay, thank you.
And I think we can update the website and we can send out communication, right? So when we're in phase 3 and we're no longer taking temperature, we can update the Wall of Fame website. So if I'm coming as a consumer, because I think a business, hey, I haven't seen them do this, well, they no longer have to do this because they're in phase 3, but they're still committed to your safety. So
and I agree. I think this is a fabulous idea. I think this seal is something that every establishment will be very proud to display. I know we would here at the Safety Council, and I think this would be something that we could grow with, that as we move through, that we continue to honor what is still applicable through the 7 steps. So let's say that the temperatures go away. So we take that off. I like your idea, but I think this is a fabulous tool for Orange County businesses to always reassure our consumers that when they walk in our business, that they can rest assured that we are continuing to practice safe practices, if you will.
Yep. I'd like to maybe just, this is Stephen here, modify a little bit the disclaimer. Maybe it should read, before the seal of approval is displayed, my business will be in compliance with the 7 guidelines for reopening.
That's a good add.
Perhaps that's just something that they commit to do in order to get the seal.
I'm thinking language that similar to what you mentioned, but maybe says affirms or confirms.
Hey, Steve, can you mention that sentence again?
Sure.
Confirms or affirms. Yeah.
Oh, is that me or somebody else?
Steve, go ahead.
So at the very top, where the this is, at the very top where you have the this under by the disclaimer. Yes. Oh, and
somebody put language in the chat.
In front of the this.
I'm sorry, Steve. Go ahead.
I was going to say before in the disclaimer section, before the this, put the word before, and then it would read before this seal of approval is displayed. let's see, before this, sorry, I had it a minute ago. Before the seal of approval display, I will be, or my business will be in compliance with the 7 guidelines for reopening.
Just to help a suggested, excuse me, just as a suggested addendum, I would say this seal affirms that my business is in compliance or something like that, as opposed to saying before this seal. This seal confirms or affirms. That's just a friendly amendment. Okay.
That's fine.
I added something in the chat. I don't know if you guys want to run with that and tweak that, just for discussion.
Pastor Zach, what was your addition? We were making sure Steve's language.
Rather than the sentence starting off with before, just say this seal confirms that my business is in compliance with the 7 guidelines for reopening.
If I can comment here, if you go back down and look at the comments, I kind of like what the majors put in there in the comment section.
There you go.
All right, copy them.
Although I think it needs to be applicable to both storefronts and not storefronts. So it shouldn't be only limited to storefront.
Guys, working group, the only thing that I see that is going to be a hurdle here. One is we've tried, and I'm sure a lot of businesses that are within this working group have tried, is the PPE. We've tried for 2.5 weeks now to get the, if you will, infrared thermometer. We've tried different vendors, and they're just not to be found, or they're promised, but it's 2 months from now. So just putting that out there, it's tough. And I know with the other working group that I'm with, that we're trying to find vendors that are out there that can help maybe expedite what our needs might be here in Orange County. Just a comment.
Can we've done a great talking and figuring this out. Can we turn this thought into a recommendation specifically? And I don't know if it's something along like that this working group recommends that a seal of approval be created and the business commits to, and then from there, once that recommendation is made, then we can either, assuming it goes to the full task force and it goes to the mayor, then we can work and figure out how different pieces of it are going to articulate. But I would like us, we've done all this great talking, to put this into something that the next group can look at and review.
Okay. Does anybody want to make a motion?
Do we have the language yet for?
Can you type up the language you just said? We recommend, or I can, let me see here. Okay.
I can change. We can change it to make sure it's, but it's something along the lines of the Business Compliance and Consumer Confidence Working Group recommends ...
Okay.
I think everyone seems to be in agreement about the seal of approval. We can say a seal of approval, or I think on the document it says positive, or some kind of a positive reinforcing program where the business commits to, and then follow the 7 guidelines set forth by Orange County.
Well, it's not only the seal of approval, it's a website, right?
Say that again, Augusto.
No, I thought that it included a wall of fame or a website where you can go and check. It's not
all of those tie into the positive reinforcement. It could be the seal of approval, the web page, the wall of fame, or the recommendation can be even broader and says we recommend some kind of a positive reinforcement campaign of which the business commits to these 7 guidelines, of which part of the bullets of those, the way to bring that to fruition is Wall of Fame, seal of approval webpage.
I just typed into the chat what you were saying. And Jason, I believe that was you speaking. So kind of save you a little bit of time there, and then we can wordsmith it.
I do like I think it was Jason. I think I do like his recommendation though, Madam Chair, to not only make it the seal of approval, but also the broader recommendation by the group is to develop that a program that includes, the Wall of Fame, the seal of approval, the website, or whatever else. So the recommendation is broader,
Okay, so how do we say that?
Dan is the PR guy.
Well, Steve put something in the chat. Our business group recommends a PR consumer confidence program that includes.
I hit the enter too fast. I'm still typing. Sorry.
So the Business Compliance and Consumer Confidence Group recommends a PR consumer confidence program and whatever else you type, Steve.
There's several in the chat. There's several different pieces. Several different recommendations. But I think I see Dr. Cardenas, you wrote the seal of approval, but we said we're going to take it one step broader to say the business compliance and consumer confidence recommends a positive I think someone said something like a positive reinforcement or a consumer confidence campaign so the businesses commit to what we discussed, and then the three facets of that are the bullets we discussed.
Yeah, that's kind of what I just typed up, but I didn't do it as eloquently as you did. But yes, that's kind of what I'm saying. I just did the part.
Business Compliance and Consumer Confidence Group recommends a PR consumer confidence program, is what Steve wrote.
Or effort, or
campaign is good.
Or PR recommends a PR program designed to build consumer confidence. Program designed to build consumer confidence. That includes the 3 or 4 points that we discussed.
Are we going to reference what they're committing to do, which is to follow the 7 guidelines?
I just added something to that in the chat as well, just kind of adding on to what Stephen said at the end, through which Orange County businesses can affirm their commitment to following the 7 guidelines set by the county.
Yeah, perfect.
And I believe Major Ansueto said it before, and I just want to clarify. This is a voluntary honor system seal of approval. This is not necessarily from a regulatory or inspection or anything like that, correct?
Yes, because these are recommendations and not mandates. So this should also be on the honor system, as the Major shared. I agree with that.
Okay.
Same here, and I think if anything, it's really going to be enforced by consumers.
Yeah.
Okay.
If your business puts this on the window, it's going to be your customers that are going to hold you to it.
Okay, I just want to be very careful about we're not getting into regulating compliance. I think that's a theme, but I just want that to be clear among everyone.
Do we need to add that in this statement that it is going to be an honor system, or does it come later?
It could be a part of the recommendation. There could be a word that makes that clear.
Well, I'm sure, I don't think it has to be part of our recommendation. I'm sure the county attorneys, before putting anything online, they will probably dot the I's and cross the T's. But I wouldn't want to make that like honor like in your face, because that's going to give him an excuse not to do it. So, you know.
I think you're right. Anything so it will go from here to the full task force, then Mayor Demings if he adopts it, and then it would come back to staff to make sure it goes through the proper channels to make sure, like you said, the county attorney's office and all the relevant divisions to make sure it's something that can be done.
And I have one question and a comment, if I may. It goes back to out of the 7, I know, and anybody, all the other businesses out there, trying to get the thermometer. If that, I can tell you that we wouldn't be able to even move forward to get the seal. If I cannot get that thermometer, I'm not going to apply. And I don't know other businesses that are on this working group. Are you in the same situation? And I'm sure I am, possibly everybody else might be also. Thank you.
Should we add to this language that just says something like to the greatest extent possible? Something along those lines.
I'm looking at the 7 guidelines. I took a snapshot of it, and number 7, it states recommend temperature check for all staff.
Yeah.
So it's great if they do it, but if they don't do it, it doesn't seem like it's okay, you fail.
I concur with Major
That's a good point.
About that part.
Good. Well, I'm glad we're talking about it so we can clear this up, because I think I'm holding my organization to, as you can imagine, being the United Safety Council, being here since 1953. If anybody's going to adhere to this, we certainly are. So.
I think the Major's point is a good one. I think when you look at number 7, it's not saying that businesses are going to check the temperature of all staff. They're recommending that there be a temperature check for all staff.
Again, thank you so much.
Slight difference. But.
Yeah, there is, definitely.
And I would also add, when you're doing your health screenings, you can ask them if they've taken their temperature or if they have a fever, and they can tell you that as well. So that would be part of it.
I think that was an
members, which I only have a skeleton crew here. How you doing this morning? Do you feel okay? Just the morning pleasantries now, if you will.
So back to this, are we comfortable with the language that we have up here?
I'm comfortable, but I think that the elements of recommendation, the Wall of Fame website and seal of approval, the places that I've seen this work in the last 2 weeks, they have a seal of approval, and within the seal or next to the seal, they have the points of compliance. So since we're going to expect the consumer to be regulating this, what I've talked to other folks around the country or around particularly in Europe, they actually post the seal, but then they're also next to it or part of the seal they put the 7 like checks. So that means the customers, when they get to the door or the place of entry, they say, okay, these are the 7 things that I'm going to be able to see inside, and then they can audit whether or not they saw it or not. And it, by the way, is working incredibly well.
John, I couldn't agree with you more on that we need to list those 7 within that seal of approval documentation.
So is it or is it a poster?
My only comment on that, I agree with you. I think we need to make that a recommendation. I'm not sure whether it's something that we, I just want to make sure that we leave enough leeway for the marketing communications team to design this in the best way possible, so that we don't, as a working group, dictate it to too much of a degree, if that makes sense. Right. I think we need to recommend that it include that, but it really need to be left up to them as the marketing professionals to design it.
I mean, I agree 100%, Dan, and I think what the group needs to focus, what you're on the right path, is setting the recommendation, which will then dictate the type of work. You said leave it broad enough but clear. I think this is broad and clear at the same time. So this is basically the recommendation. I'll highlight it.
So before we continue, one of the things that I had mentioned at the last meeting was that onboarding welcome packet, whatever we want to call it, that they can download themselves as part of this recommendation, just a printed reminder for them of what they committed to?
It all depends on the budget and who's going to pay for it. I like I said, I really do believe that the only thing that's really going to work is not a pretty seal, but the 7 items so people can visually see it. And what they've done in other places is that they actually send a digital package. I mean, it's just basically an email, and the business themselves can actually print the seal, and they can print the little, poster in a piece of paper or in cardboard, however, whatever the budget allows, and then they paste that at the entry point. That would be like the cheap way to do it. The more elaborate would be to actually do beautiful decal seals, which look very pretty. Would be wonderful to have that. But the seal and the 7 recommendations, or how many we decide at the end to be, they need to be together and visual. Otherwise, this won't work.
I do have one question. Do we give the seal a name, or just call it seal?
I think Dr. Cardenas said something earlier. Someone said something about the 7, commit to the 7. Someone said something like that earlier.
Mm-hmm.
Like the 7 seals of commitment?
Yeah, that would be very biblical.
Yeah.
Yeah, I wrote down a couple of things, but again, that was, I think that's once we get into some brainstorming. I think the chairwoman wanted to kind of get past this before we start doing that. Not to interrupt, Madam Chair, but I think Roseanne Harrington mentioned in the chat that she wants to comment too.
Oh, please. Roseanne? Roseanne?
Thank you. I was watching you all and listening in, and I might have missed some of it, and it seems like you're hard at work, and I want to thank you for your time and efforts in this area. I just had a couple of questions, and I apologize if you maybe answered these questions and I didn't hear it because I was watching you on TV, was who is actually going to be the one that ensures that if somebody, who are they applying to get this seal, and then who verifies they actually are in compliance, and then who takes the complaint if somebody says they're in compliance and then they're not, and somebody sees it. Just some of those details would be helpful.
So we're going to build a website where businesses can register. I imagine that that's going to be Orange County run. Major Ansueto can talk about who's going to ensure compliance right off the bat, but we discussed that a little bit earlier, and we're continuing with the honor system on that. We feel that consumers are really going to tell on a business or, submit a complaint if a business is not compliant, and then the complaint would go to the state website that would then have to filter some way down to Orange County, and someone in Orange County would go serve notice to the business and kind of help them work through whatever the deficiency is at that point in time.
But it's an honor system. It's an honor system. It's definitely not a something that we're going to hold them accountable for.
Well, it's more from a staffing perspective. You're talking about a county employee going to, or the sheriff, because really right now it's the state, and these aren't state guidelines, they're ours. And again, I think your intent is a good one. We always have to look at how do you execute this so that it doesn't cause more confusion and what doesn't open the door to people complaining. And so the virtual seal was kind of nice. I was thinking that's what I thought you were meaning when you said the social media, that you get this virtual seal. And because really all you want them to do is make a promise that this is what we promise to abide by these things, and let the public judge whether they're successful or not. Just keep in mind that if there's a physical seal and somebody has to keep them in compliance, we don't have the staffing right now to do that. And
I think to your point, Roseanne, that's largely what we've been discussing, is that this would be a commitment that they would be making, and kind of, it would be on the honor system, but it would be a commitment that they are making as a business to follow those guidelines that the county has set. Okay. And largely, I think we see that, kind of as the chairwoman mentioned, that it would be to a large degree enforced by the public, frankly, by the folks that are going to report companies if they find them not being in compliance. I think, frankly, they're going to do that regardless of whether there's a seal of approval or not. Consumers are going to be letting us know, or letting you know, letting the sheriff's department know, letting the state know if people are not in compliance.
And I think that's already happening, because I remember the mayor had said that he's already started to receive complaints, and we were on day 3 yesterday of the reopening. So the focus, as we stated last week too, when we announced it to the public, is phase 1. But I think that we have to give the public a way to voice their concerns. And that's why we added phase 2 and phase 3. And I put in the chat the website that Major Anzueto mentioned last week for filing complaints. And if we spent 90% of our time on phase 1 and everybody's complying, then we're never going to make it to phase 2 or phase 3, or step 2 or step 3.
Roseanne, if I could add, if we do get complaints of violations of the mayor's executive order, then Orange County Sheriff's Office obviously will respond. But looking at these guidelines, like everybody mentioned, it is an honor system. It is a promise that they're doing just for the consumer confidence of them coming back to that business. But if there is some violation of executive order and we get that call in, then we will respond.
Can I jump in very quickly? The perhaps seal of approval is a very strong, and it seems to be where a lot of people are getting some anxiety about. Perhaps it just needs to say something else, less not a promise, but something else a little bit not quite as strong. If you remember, a couple of years ago, there were decals in windows saying that this is a safe space. It was for the LGBT community, or if you're a minority, and businesses hung it in their windows saying you can be who you are and you're fine here. And that was voluntary. There was no authority regulating that, and it was just something that from a grassroots effort, which is what I see this aiming to be. This is a voluntary. You're a business owner. You're doing what Orange County laid out, these 7 guidelines. And perhaps the seal of approval makes it seem like it's too official. And I'm wondering if there's a better word or expression that's a step down from seal of approval, which could possibly work. That's not it.
Safety seal?
Maybe like declaration of commitment.
I like the word pledge.
Or our pledge.
Madam Chair, not to add more hurdles into this, but does anyone else have an issue with I'm not sure if I would call a public relations program. I don't know why I have a problem with calling it a public relations program. Isn't it more than just a PR program? I mean, it may a consumer confidence program.
Yeah, that's you're right. That's stronger and more.
Yeah, I'd agree with that. Speaking as a speaking as the owner of a public relations firm, most people misunderstand public relations, so I would take that out.
Yep. Yeah, and I suggested it, so I agree.
Do you think initiative is a stronger word than program?
Yes.
Yeah, that's fine. Yeah.
I like initiative.
It's better, actually, I think.
So then we have to remove design to build consumer confidence because it's redundant.
I think the initiative is designed to build consumer confidence through which Orange County business can voluntarily affirm their.
Okay.
Can I share this? I want to share.
Lost it.
You're sharing Microsoft Word right now. So go up to the very top.
I'm going to show everyone something that it's on the is or was on the sheriff's office webpage at one point that I think is. This is kind of where the city was kind of on the right path. So I'm going to stop sharing the Microsoft document, and then
go to share again. The arrow. Arrow. Good. And then
you can see these which I was talking about, and it's just. They were stickers. They were all across Orlando not long ago, and this was something specifically for the LGBT community. And I don't know if anybody from the city of Orlando or the sheriff's office was actively going to that business to monitor activity. It was just something you put in your window. You show support for the community, and I think that's kind of what we're doing here, or you all, I should say.
Mm-hmm.
Yes, and I tell you, from law enforcement standpoint, agencies didn't go in there to make sure that they were considered. It was like the honor system, like we're talking about. It's the business owners and employees saying this area is safe to come in if you feel that you're being targeted or if there's any type of issues. And that originated from Seattle, Washington, and City of Orlando and Orange County Sheriff's Office ended up doing the same.
This is great. That first image that you're showing there, what does it say in the bottom where it says City of Orlando? Oh, okay. This location is a safe place for victims. Got it. So it's not any. Yeah, I think it's exactly the same, right? This would be exactly.
Yeah.
Madam Chair, do we need to motion on those?
Yes.
Or the verbiage?
So hold on, before we go, Major Azueto, what was that called? Is it did we call it? Are we settling on a deck? So yes. So for here, pledge of approval.
What was the other initiative? What was the name of the one that you just showed?
I don't remember. I don't know what the name of the initiative is. It just.
I don't know whether we need to say pledge. I think what you just had up on the screen had a declaration of commitment. To me, that's the same thing, unless you're talking specifically about the decal.
I think what I was talking about is there was some anxiety about seal of approval. That sounds very official. So we're trying to take a step or two backwards to something that means commitment or means a pledge, but not as strong as seal of approval.
Mm-hmm. Pledge. I'm fine with declaration of commitment. Either of those work for me.
Yeah. And by the way, I agree that the seal of approval may be an issue because a seal of approval is something formal. I mean, it's something that Orange County would be approving. You're saying that your safe is good, and I don't know if Orange County would even want it.
I think legal would make us take it out.
Yeah, I'd agree with that.
Declaration, though, I'm not sure. I'm a big fan of that word. I like
commitment pledge.
Pledge. I think we're getting too technical.
Why don't we ask legal? Give them a couple words there. Say, as a declaration, a pledge. What is, let legal kind of guide us a little bit through this.
There you go. That would work.
Yeah, exactly. A declaration / pledge. They can decide.
Or why don't we put there in that bullet item, why don't we just put what we want? Like we want a display or something that they can display in the place of business. Then they can figure out, kind of the design or what it says. But
Madam Chair,
essentially, yes.
Madam Chair?
Yes.
I recommend seal of commitment.
What do you guys think about that?
I think we're trying to get away from the word seal, though, correct?
I still think legal will come back and make us take seal out. Because again, as I hear the working team mention, that that's a very strong empowerment, if you will.
I wanted to mention that I do think in our statement, the decal needs to be mentioned.
I think maybe what we could do is where it says declaration, pledge of commitment, we could say for public display. And that way we kind of, again, leave it a little bit up to the county to decide how best that can be done, whether it's a poster, a decal, whatever it may be.
I agree.
Yes, agree.
Declaration / pledge of commitment for public display.
That's good.
Good point, Dan.
Anybody like the word shield? Because some of those safe zones or the safety signs that we were just looking at look like a shield. No, that's fine.
I like it.
Okay, so if we leave this open-ended like that, are we ready to make a motion?
Wait, I think we need to remove the sale of commitment first. There you go.
We're going to put display at the end of declaration, pledge of commitment, or display.
Yeah, for public display. At the end of that.
No, at the end.
Pledge of commitment for public display, right?
Hold on, we have someone from the county attorney's office on the call, and if she's available and willing to give a thought regarding some of what we're discussing.
It's clear that your evidence.
Georgiana, you were on mute there, so can you start over?
I said I've been listening to the discussion that you guys have been having in the background, and I think that you clearly understand that the intent is for this to be a voluntary affirmation of their commitment. I don't know exactly what's the best wording at this time. I think that your recommendation will go to the task force, and ultimately, if it's adopted by the mayor, as staff indicated, it would go through the proper channels to make sure that the best language is picked so that we can evidence that intent by not only your recommendation, but whatever is acted upon by the mayor from a recommendation of the entire task force.
Thank you, Georgiano.
You're welcome.
Madam Chair?
Yes.
Before we take a vote, I'd like to go back to the main paragraph. I think it's missing something at the end. It says, can voluntarily affirm their commitment to following the 7 guidelines. I think it should say the 7 health or health or safety guidelines. Otherwise, it's sort of like a little empty. I don't think it's very specific.
I think that makes sense.
It's just to add the word safe and health.
How about compliance? 7 compliance guidelines.
But it needs to say
effort.
It needs to say what they are.
We have in compliance 3 times. In an effort to be consistent, we can use health and I think it's health and safety guidelines. But I think the way it was presented by the other group,
It's not sure in the word.
it didn't mention that. But it's up to you. Do you want me to bring back up the way it was listed in the recommendation from the previous meeting?
Yeah, please.
Yes, please.
Up, left, boom, arrow.
So this is the way it was done
I mean, and we are calling them guidelines, the 7 guidelines for reopening, and that's what it says here.
I think whatever we do just should be consistent with that.
So keep it at 7 guidelines for reopening.
Fine.
Nadine's got a question. Nadine?
Yes, thank you. So I represent the personal services industry, and in those 7 steps, can we at least put a word in there that states at least follows these? Because in the personal services, we have so much further to go as far as maintaining the safety and health of our staff and our customers. I don't want it to be bogged down with the stylists and the barbers to feel like that is as far as they need to commit. So is there any way that we can add in there that the word at least or some variation of that?
Oh, okay, and that would be for our recommendation specifically, Nadine, right?
Correct.
Okay.
Because in this industry, there's so many other parameters that we have to follow to make sure that, and it's imperative that we follow it to make sure that we are making sure that our staff and our customers are safe. And the 7 guidelines that you have don't cover nearly all of them.
Can we bring back up that paragraph?
Are you all seeing
Sharing, starting to share content is all it says, but it's never shared.
Hold on, let me try again. Uh-oh, what just happened?
Gives it back real quick.
Everybody there?
Have we lost the county administration team?
Looks like it.
Hey, can you guys hear us?
Hi.
We got you now.
Welcome back.
Thank you. We're going to share this with you and get the language right here.
So you keep the...
So can you all see that?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. So she was, Nadine was saying, at a minimum, maybe, so can voluntarily affirm commitment
to at least
a minimum of following the 7 guidelines. At a minimum following. I don't know where you want
following at least the 7 guidelines.
Correct.
It's all good.
To following at least the 7 guidelines.
Well, but Madam Chair, if I may, I mean, our task force was, we kind of, as a group, approved the 7 guidelines for reopening. If we put at least, wouldn't we be admitting that we didn't go far? I mean, I don't know. I'm not sure if, I mean, this seal or pledge or whatever is for those 7 guidelines, which was what was approved by the committee. If whether they go far enough or not, that's not something we can control. I mean, I guess we should have made a different recommendation or made 7 steps. But
I have the same feeling on that, Augusta. And I understand where Nadine's going with that, but my concern would be that the county has now these 7 guidelines, and by saying at least that we're suggesting to other businesses outside of the personal services industry that they also should be doing even more than what we have set as the guidelines.
And the general guidelines.
Is the language that you have the word at least kind of inherent and implied in it?
I think it is because you can.
I think it's implied, and I think
guidelines at a minimum. Maybe that's what you're doing. I don't know. Your own call.
I'd like to recommend that that she makes that, Nadine. Thank you. That she makes that recommendation of an addendum to the language to the task force itself, because the task force approved the 7 guidelines and another committee recommended the 7 guidelines. So I think the point is being made that we're not in a position to do an addendum to the guidelines or to change the guidelines.
Sorry, Lucas, can you bring up the guidelines again? Because
yes,
I think the guidelines themselves says general guidelines for all industries, which mean they're not industry specific. So some industries, as to Nadine's point, will need to do more.
Do you all see the PowerPoint there?
Yes.
Yes.
I'd like for the county to chime in. I don't think this is under our purview, the 7 guidelines. So I just want to know about process. What's the process for us right now? For the Reynolds?
Oh, well, if the group is in agreement, someone would make a motion for the recommendation. There would be a second, there'd be discussion, and then do a roll call.
You don't have to do a roll call.
Oh, you don't have to do a roll call, just vote aye. And if that's the case, and then if someone is in disagreement, that's when they would voice the concern.
And we would note that.
And we would note that in the record.
So for clarity purposes, Nadine, can you give us a specific example of something not met by these guidelines that you would have to do for your business?
So in this particular area of services, a lot of across the board hairstylists and barbers have recommended that we only take a certain amount of clients inside of our business at one particular time, that we don't use the same processing capes that we use throughout the day. We use disposable ones. Just as hard as it is for us to be able to find the thermometers, there is some sort of delay on getting disposable capes, but it is a portion of protecting our clients, not using the same cape at this, throughout the day on a different client throughout the day. And that's not
shared menus, disposable menus, instead of, in your case, disposable capes. So I think that plays into a lot of what we already have, even though it's not specifically detailed. And I'll leave it open for the rest of the group for your comments.
So Ms. Evelyn, at this point, we're exceeding our time limit. Great discussion, great contributions from everyone. If it's possible, we have another call at 4 that we have to be on. So we're hoping that we could get a motion, a second, and we can close the book on this recommendation. And if we need to have an addendum, et cetera, we could maybe handle that tomorrow.
I make a motion to accept the language as stated, highlighted, shown on the screen.
This is Dan Ward. I second.
Okay. Any discussion?
Second by Mr. Ward.
Yeah.
Okay, seeing as there's no discussion, all in favor say aye.
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 Any opposed?
Aye.
Who said nay so we can note it for?
Okay, so do you want to do a roll call vote?
No, I believe there's one person that said nay. We just want to make sure we note that.
Okay, anybody said nay?
Okay.
I didn't hear any, okay?
All right.
Hearing,
Thank you. So the recommendation passes unanimously.
Okay, so we have our second recommendation, which is great. We have another meeting tomorrow of which we can discuss additional recommendations, and you all should have that calendar invitation for the same time, 2:30 tomorrow. This will go forward. This will go to the meeting, the full task force meeting, which is next one is on Wednesday. We have a meeting tomorrow, and we'll make additional recommendations. Does anyone, I guess, either Dr. Cardenas or Pastor Zach, if have anything else before we can close out the meeting?
I have nothing further. I have nothing further. We can see you tomorrow.
Okay. Thanks, everybody.
Thank you.
Thank you.